What's up, gamers? It's your boy, JKon. Welcome to Spike Defused, the show where I recap the VCT games that have happened in the week. This is a series that I've wanted to start for a while now, so hopefully I'll be able to stay on top of it consistently as we are now entering into week 3 of the VCT. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. I've been co-streaming the Americas games over on my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/JKonTV, so feel free to stop by anytime I'm live and say hi. Anyways, without further delay, let's get into it. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, because there are 25 games that occur during a week, not including super weeks, there are definitely a lot of matches to go over, so I will not be covering every single one of them in this video. I will be making another video covering the rest of the games from week 2 though. Because EMEA has such a wonky schedule and they like to start out on Wednesdays, thank you EMEA, you know, shout outs to you guys. I will be starting out with the EMEA games that happened this week and kind of just talking about them and going over them. The first matchup that I'm going to be talking about today is Karmine Corp versus FUT, and honestly, it was a pretty good series. FUT looked pretty solid with their unique comps, and that's one of the things that I've always enjoyed about FUT is that they're willing to play outside of the meta. For example, on Lotus, they ran a non-initiator comp, which was pretty cool, and they played really well around the weaknesses of that comp of having gaps in info and being able to gather info, and they used their Cypher to gather info, which is pretty dope. I really liked it from what I saw from them. Another thing that I really have to shout out from this matchup is that Cracks played extremely well, especially on the KO, and oh my god, is it nice to see Cracks back on the KO, ladies and gentlemen, because let me tell you, he's different on the KO. You know what I mean? Like, he's just different. So I feel like his utility is always just really good, and they were firing. CNED looks absolutely cracked, and I do have to say that Karmine Corp didn't look the best in this matchup. They did look a little bit sloppy, and although they have quite a lot of firepower, there was insane clips from Martin. Shin had a couple clutches and some highlight plays, and of course Narrate was firing as per usual. They kind of just got shot back, and as Brennan always says, you know, it's a gun game, and let me tell you, FUT can definitely shoot back. So this was a very close matchup. Lotus was a very strong showing from FUT, especially like I said with their unique comp here, with Cracks playing the Sage and absolutely farming with Gen.G. And one of the things that we actually have to absolutely talk about is Gen.G. I think Gen.G is such an amazing talent, and I regret saying that, oh, he might be a side grade to Maj, because he is not a side grade. This kid is very talented, shoots back really hard. He ended the series with 55, 38 and 6 with 233 ACS, and him with CNED firing on all cylinders. CNED ended up with 56, 38 and 16 with 246 ACS, and what's the craziest stat about both of them is that they both ended with 9 first kills, and that is insane coming from your Sentinel player, and of course, you know, you have seen it on main duelist. All right, the next matchup that I want to talk about is Vitality versus the Heretics, and oh my gosh, was this series really fun. It was extremely back and forth, and genuinely, if Vitality did not dominate in the pistol rounds, winning 5 out of 6, they definitely could have lost the series, like no doubt. There were a ton of swing rounds that went back and forth, and it was a very fun and entertaining game. A huge shout out that I have to go to from the series is MiniBoo, because he is just an absolute maniac. He makes absurdity out of rounds and he makes it look good. Like him on Neon, he's insane. He makes Neon look really strong. It's quite crazy, and he ended up being the best player in the server, putting up 69, 54 and 25 with 284 ACS, ending with 23 multi-frags and 17 first kills to 12 first deaths. So this man was just running at them, taking fight after fight and just going beast mode. And another thing that I wanted to shout out for MiniBoo himself is that his KO was really good. His utility was on top, especially on Icebox. Even though they were not able to win on Icebox as it ended 13-9 in the favor of Team Vitality, I still thought that MiniBoo's KO looked really good. His Yoru gameplay on Breeze was really entertaining. He is just so smart with his on the fly thinking and making decisions, and it just looks really good. So I just have to shout out MiniBoo. I know I glazed him for a little bit there, but now we'll talk about Vitality and why Vitality genuinely looked quite good, and I was very impressed. They had an overall very even kill distribution across 4 of their members, hitting 52 plus frags across the board, and I think if you're having a team that's built with this much talent on it, having an equal distribution is pretty good, showing that they have a pretty good balance of their strengths and weaknesses. So shout out to them. They looked really good, and I like the Vitality team, man. What can I say? Heretics played well, but Vitality, they be hitting shots. Let's head over to Team Liquid versus NAVI, and This was definitely tough for Team Liquid fans everywhere. The meme of choke quid was definitely in full effect here, as Team Liquid could easily won the series 2-0. They played very well on Lotus, and they were able to counter Navi's unique comp that they have on this. I don't like Breach on this map. I don't like the solo Brim on this map. I don't like their comp very much, and Angel definitely had a tough map for sure. Nats was an absolute beast, going just fragging out of his mind. He was lurking incredibly well, just finding gaps in the macro play. So Lotus was really good on split, and now here's where Liquid really had it. They were up 2-10. At one point it was 1-10, and then they proceed to lose 11 rounds in a row, finally breaking the streak from the all-out aggression that Zipan was having, just blast packing in and getting the entry frag. But it was not nearly enough, as Navi closed it out, making the comeback possible. Shao played like an absolute god this map. He was incredible. Zipan just flew in there, bro. He just threw his body in. He didn't care. He just made space and got the entry. So damn, KRÜ looked really good. And in the first half, KRÜ was firing, Mystic was firing, but you get to the second half and it was really just only KRÜ and Nats, and it was tough. So seeing them come back here, it was like, okay, maybe you can brush that off. That's definitely really tough on the mental. But then they got absolutely clapped on Ascent, bro. So they only claimed 5 rounds, 2 of which were a pistol and an anti-eco, and man, it was tough, bro. I really do want to shout out NAVI. They do have really good protocols, but damn, do they push the clock down, man. On split, they took a round where there was 15 seconds left on the clock to plant the spike. Shao gets a 2k, and they're somehow able to get the spike down and win the round. It was just classic NAVI. So if you want a good NAVI map, I mean, this is a good example of a good NAVI series, honestly. Nats ended the series with superstar numbers, but it's really feeling kind of tough, even though KRÜ did frag quite well. Nats ended with 52, 43, and 13 with 213 ACS, but the double duo punch of Shao and Sugetsu were just too good. Zipan was firing. Artist played quite well and had pretty good utility. Still not a big fan of the Breach, but it is what it is. Really big crumble from Liquid, and I feel really bad for for them. That's tough. Next, we got BBL versus KRÜ, and this was a surprise matchup for me. And honestly, shout out to all the BBL fans, because this was a huge win for them and a great showing from the entire team. And I think this was super big. I had KRÜ in my predictions because I thought KRÜ played okay in week 1, but damn, dude, was this an absolute beast mode series from BBL. Elite. Wherever they found this kid, man, I'm telling you, Turkish Sentinels players, you got Alpha at the top, right? The first one, and now you have Yet to J and Elite. Dude, these kids are absolutely insane. He racked up 9 multi-kills, 5 of which were 3Ks. I think 4 of them were on Icebox or something. And he ended the series with 34, 14, and 4 with 257 ACS. Like, this kid could not miss. Like, all he hit was head. Like, 49% headshot percentage. That's absolutely absurd. I also want to shout out Brave, who stuck around from last year, and he was incredible on their Icebox defense. Icebox was an absolute flattening. Actually, both maps were an absolute flattening. Brave was so big on Icebox and their anchor, and he had 15 of his 18 frags in the first half, and he ended with 303 ACS. So shout out to Brave, because damn, this was a really good showing. I also want to shout out Power, their IGL, who I did put doubts on coming into the regular season, and damn, he's been hitting shots this year, man. I'm not gonna lie, like, Power has been just hitting shots, and he had really good calls and good reads against KRÜ. Another thing that I just wanted to point out that I found was unique was that on Breeze, they kept defaulting their Viper wall to cover halls and mid door, and I'm not usually a big fan of this wall, because unless you know that the team that you're going against really likes to attack using A splits, it's a bad wall. Better off using it on B. That's kind of why I had a problem with MIBR's defense, which we'll talk about later. And it was actually a good call, because KRÜ just constantly would pressure mid to go for a split. Shados would be in tube 24/7, so that wall just absolutely was incredible for them and just dominated KRÜ. Camo, I do want to give him a shout out from KRÜ. He was hitting shots, don't get me wrong, he's definitely hitting shots, but the firepower from the Turkish squad was just too much. Next up, we got FNATIC versus GIANTX, and this matchup was actually questionable if you're a FNATIC fan, and this is kind of tough. And FNATIC definitely look very, very weak, and if I were to power rank them, they would definitely be on the lower end of the table and nowhere near the top like it was coming into split 1. So the best way to describe this matchup was that it was an absolute flattening on both sides on their opponent's map picks, and then map 3 was just alpha rays. That's just a quick summation from it. So on bind, FNATIC absolutely just dominated once they got rifles. Heading over to Breeze, it was the exact same thing, 13-5, but in the way of GIANTX, and this map did not look good for FNATIC at all. GX just had absolute aggression in middle of Breeze and constantly controlled that space with their double duelist, and FNATIC just didn't really have an answer for them, to be honest. And then you go to split, the last map, and like I said, Alpha Rays 21-11 with 281 ACS. Like, my god, man, he ended the series with 51-35-12 with 252 ACS, and that is absolutely absurd. So he's actually just different. I want to shout out Chronicle on this map, as I thought his cypher was really good. He anchored incredibly well, and he just continues to prove why he's one of the best flex players in the world, because he can literally play anything. It was a stronger showing from FNATIC, but man, it was not super convincing from them, in my opinion. To give credit to GIANTX though, they did have pretty good game plans, but once they ran out of ideas, it definitely showed, especially on splits. Purpo definitely had a very impressive showing in my opinion, and he definitely showcased his firepower. He ended the series 42-38-9 with 11 first kills to 4 first deaths, and genuinely showed why he's a tier 1 talent and he got picked up. So shout out to Purpo. And to close out EMEA, we have Karmine Corp versus Gentlemates, where Karmine Corp will play their second matchup of the week. The best way for me to describe the series is that I thought that Gentlemates had really cool ideas. I love the way that they are manipulating the map, selling fakes, getting map control, getting players deep into enemy territory, but they just kind of got outgunned here, and I think that's really just the telling thing from this series. Narrate and Tamazi were just absolutely firing and hitting on all cylinders today. Narrate went 39-22-9 with 282 ACS, and Tamazi ended with 34-16-15 with 249 ACS, going back to his now famous Viper. I really just want to shout out everybody from Karmine Corp, because they all had really big rounds throughout the series, and just their raw firepower was absolutely on showcase here. I again am not the biggest Phoenix fan, even though Natank plays it quite well, but this was definitely a big firepower difference for this matchup. Let's go over to Pacific and we'll talk about 2 of the games that happened over there. The first matchup that we had was Gen.G versus Paper Rex, and wow, this was a pretty fun series in my opinion. But if you look at the kill scores right now, you would think that Gen.G got absolutely dominated in this series. And although in the kill category it did go that way, it was a lot closer. Lotus opened up with a really strong showing from Paper Rex. I thought that they genuinely should have won this map based off how strong their first half was. They lost the pistol, but it was only 4 rounds total that they gave up on their attack half. But once it flipped, man, oh dude, Meteor went absolutely insane. He was just hitting so many shots, and it was just, I can't believe it. Like, who is this guy? You know what I mean? So I was just genuinely impressed by Meteor in this matchup. Mind Freak is back in top form though, baby, and I love my boy Ron, and he was just absolutely hitting. When we go to Icebox, this one got me nervous, bro. I was so nervous here, okay, as a Paper Rex fan. It was another 8-4 half. This time it was in Gen.G's favor, and I was kind of worried. I was like, damn, they played a really close map on Lotus that they kind of let slip away in the first half. Although they did make a comeback a little bit, it still wasn't enough. And then now on Icebox, you're down 8-4. I was worried about the mental, bro, but man, did they just lock in on the defensive half. Look at this. Something, Forsaken, Jing, all with 12 plus frags, and they just absolutely stifled them. Something was just getting pick after pick after pick. Once they got an op in his hands, he was unstoppable on that defensive round, and he was just out dueling Texture completely. Gen.G were running the G2 comp, where they're running the Omen Duelist, which I think is pretty cool. And on their defensive half, they played quite well. Their retakes were really good. Their stall was really good, and they played quite well. But man, did Paper Rex have some absurd rounds. Jing had a few multi-kills that just brought them back into the game, and I was nervous, bro. I was really nervous. And then when we got to Bind, it was no chance. Bind was absolutely no chance whatsoever. I felt kind of bad for Gen.G as a Paper X fan because once they got this confidence and started out 9-0, it was over for them. There was a round 9, where Devi ends up buying an Odin at the back of B Hall, and he waits knowing that Texture has his showstopper to fly in coming in from B long. So what he does waiting for the exec is as soon as he hears the showstopper go off, he just spams through the wall and he ends up killing Lakia, who's trying to enter onto site following up Texture. And I just felt so bad because Paper X were just schmoving. It wasn't even close. There was no chance. Mind Freak was just absolutely just hitting shots like no other. And seriously though, like, it's good to have Jing back. That's what all I gotta say, man. When I watch Jing play, he's just jumping around like a maniac. He's going for highlight clip plays and he's just so fun to watch. There's a specific round where Texture throws out a satchel to try to disrupt Jing's aim. The satchel hits Jing, but Jing still is able to recorrect after the satchel hit and hit the headshot on Texture. If that just doesn't tell you the insanity of Jing, then I don't know what does. But man, I love this team so very much. And now we'll talk about the last specific matchup for this video, and that's T1 versus DRX. And I'm gonna be honest, this matchup was not as close as the score would lead to tell you. Although T1 were able to pick up a map win, which was the first map of Breeze, it really came off the back of Izu going absolutely nuclear on that map. He dropped 26 frags with 323 ACS and 5-0 to first kills to first deaths. So if Izu did not go absolutely insane on this map to make the comeback in the second half, DRX probably would have rolled them. But then when we get to the last two maps, it was just absolute domination from DRX. And I genuinely felt bad for T1 watching the last two maps because they were not even close. If you look at split right here, you have another 7-0 start for DRX and they closed it out 10-2. I don't even know what to say, but just Mako was just Makoing all over them, man. That's just how it do be. Not just Mako, but everybody on the defense. Look at this: 14 frags, 15 frags, 13 frags. The first kills, the first deaths in the first half was 11-1. That is absolutely absurd. T1 could literally not buy a frag at all. By round 4, they only had 2 kills overall. They just could not hit shots at all. To make it even worse, by round 7, they only had 3 more kills at that point. It reminded me of way back in early Valorant. It was just stifling. Everybody on DRX had $9,000. We'll put it that way. And then we head over to Bind, and it's a very similar story. DRX would once again take a very strong lead in the first half, and this was a very great showing from Buzz. Man, do I love Buzz, man. He is just so entertaining to watch. Very underrated. I feel like a lot of people just forget sometimes that Buzz is one of the best duelist players in the world. So great showing from Buzz. Another absolute domination from DRX. Again, they only lost 6 rounds, 2 of which were a pistol and anti-eco, which is not much at all. One of the things I really have to highlight and just shout out overall is Bane. The addition of Bane to this roster has allowed DRX to really be good. Not saying that he single-handedly has that effect, but by inserting Bane into the starting roster, you have a player that can play Sova, so that allows Stacks to continue to play Flash Initiators, which he's much better at. You allow Mako to just dominate on Viper, and as we've seen in multiple series now from him, he is so good at that agent. You have Buzz continue to just be the main duelist for them, and that allows Bane to flex to Yoru if they need him to flex there, and he's playing main controller for them. So I don't know what more you want from this kid, because he is absolutely the perfect fit for this roster right now, and I think he has helped elevate them even higher than when they had Flashback. Foxy9 played incredibly well. Even if he doesn't have the best scores, he played incredibly well in his util setups, especially on split. Absolutely locked down T1. So shout out to DRX. They look very good. Big ups to them. And last but not least, we have the Americas region, and I'm just going to be talking about 4 of the series from here because damn, were some of these series crazy good. G2 and 100 Thieves was a really good showing from 100 Thieves. It was a very much needed win for them, especially as they were not able to take the win over Sentinels last week, and it was their first win in 11 months for the organization, which is super big. I hope that they can build on this momentum them because they definitely need it. Fine was a pretty dominant showing from 100 Thieves. In the first half, Bang, EU, and Boostio would all be super hot, putting up 14, 10, and 9 frags respectively. But by the time we got to the second half, it was all Cryo as he dominated, putting up 12 frags for his team as they closed it out 13-9. Split was a very dominant showing from 100 Thieves because even though they lost both pistols and anti-ecos, they only seeded 4 other rounds outside of that. On their defense, I was very impressive with Cryo, especially on B site, because when he is anchoring there, he's just so immovable. He's just so intelligent the way he plays around his smokes, and G2 just could do nothing against him. A really big shout out has to go to Asuna because he returned to 2021 form and he was absolutely firing. He ended up with 21, 13, and 6 with 301 ACS. So shout out to Asuna right there. Heading over to what I may consider to be the match of the week, Sentinels versus Leviatán. And damn, was this an absolute shocker. I was so surprised that Lev were able to take this 2-0. But let me tell you, man, Lotus will go down in history as one of the greatest maps of all time. You had clutches going back and forth. You had Ospas breaking the single map kill record, putting up 47, 19, and 6 with 372 ACS and 239 ADR. That is actually absurd. He was literally killing 1.5+ people every round in just damage. So yeah, Ospas is actually the GOAT. Like he's actually an absurd beast. So it literally felt like Kobe and Shaq versus LeBron in this matchup, man. But Lotus would take us to 6 overtimes, holy, and 36 rounds total. And to be honest, I was even surprised that this game came back. And we have to shout out Sentinels because they were getting absolutely dominated in the first half. It was 9-3 with Lev just absolutely hitting and Ospas just farming and farming and farming. Sen literally had no answer for him, and there really is no answer for Ospas. You can't really do much against him because he's just gonna shoot you in the head, and he just does that super incredibly well. That's just what he does. Incredible big back and forth. There's so many highlight rounds. This round right here, round 21, when John QT was able to clutch up so big. Sen are stuck on B site with a Killjoy ult, pinning them in the corner 2v4, and John with a Bulldog is able to mow down 4 and clutch out the round. This is so tough.
Both of them pinned towards the back of
Don't
the
get
side.
caught.
There's that first swing.
What?
Second shot coming through.
What?
John Cutie.
There's no way!
Laying down the wall. John Cutie. Saves around.
There's no way!
Blue cinema.
What?
Holy John Q.
There is no way! Following up after that, they are retaking B site. Tens throws a paranoia through B door, gets an incredible kill on the player peeking from B main, and wins the 1v1 clutch as the smoke dissipates.
King gets that pick. Tens. It's all up to Tens.
It's
One
just
smoke. Shrouded step, jump spot from Ospas. There's the first headshot. The top of the
Oh my god! Dude, there's no way!
Another one coming through for Sentinels.
Is that even
Dude, there's
real?
no way!
The pressure is just making them
Oh
better.
my god! There's no way!
Sentinels.
And Sen ride that momentum into overtime, and back and forth it would go with Ospas not letting his team lose. Sen were able to take map point at round 29, but Ospas again just coming back, hitting absolutely hard because that's what he does best, man. There's not much else I can say. I can keep glazing this map over and over and over again, but just watch it. Just go watch this map. If you haven't watched this map, go watch this map. It's one of the best maps of all time. Icebox, another really good map. It went the distance, ending 11-13 in Lev's favor. Sen were able to win both pistol rounds, but Lev just played better, honestly. Ospas was continued to absolutely hit. His op was just incredibly good. King had so many really big plays, and although I'm not the biggest fan of the Harbor pickup on this map, I have to shout out Mazzino. I think he's one of the best Harbor players on Icebox that I've seen. His util layering was just almost perfect, to be honest. I think about how he was able to use a wall. I don't know if this was intentional or not, but he left a gap in the wall for Ospas to peek through and get a kill. And I do want to shout out Mazzino because they had really great utility. Sen were able to really push them. Like, look, Sen got to 10-9, but Lev were able to push it over the line. Just an incredible series overall. Now, if we move on to a giga banger that took us to many rounds. This was an absolute domination from NRG. It was really quite unfortunate for FURIA. Split was an absolute masterclass. I think if you want to talk about a map to learn from and just watch macro gameplay, watch Split, because Ethan's calls of manipulating around the map and just reading where FURIA's defenses were set up was just filthy. FURIA won the pistol and anti-eco, and once NRG got rifles, it was cooked. It was cooked. All of NRG put up over 14 kills each, except for Ethan. It was absurd. And then if you go to Breeze, yes, FURIA were able to claim 8 rounds, but if you think about it, 6 out of their 10 rounds total were from that pistols and anti-ecos. And yeah, the first half looked pretty good from them. Their attack was really strong. I liked what MW was doing with his Yoru, and overall, it wasn't too bad. For NRG though, I have to shout out Vic on his defense. His Cypher play on Breeze defense was chef's kiss. He was anchoring out of his mind for this team, dealing with the double dive and dealing with it effectively. He ended up putting up 14 of his 24 frags in that half. Once we got to the second half of Breeze though, it was just like the story of Split. Once NRG got rifles, it was just pure domination. NRG was not losing aim duels. Nowzer and MW would hit shots throughout this series. I got a shout out to them. Nowzer definitely was trying his best, but man, the firepower diff definitely showed and the calling diff definitely showed. One thing that I do want to harp on though for FURIA is that I absolutely hated their Viper wall on A. They would cover switch and mid doors, but like I said, that's only good if you know that the team is going to consistently do that. And NRG just saw that every single round and just went B. They just knew that there was no retake wall B. The only thing holding B is a Viper smoke and maybe Cypher setup. So they just completely took advantage of that. And FURIA made no adjustments with their walls throughout the entire map. And I think they needed to swap it up there. So have to harp on that one. I'm sorry, but I've watched too much Valorant to not make an analytical point on that. And last but not least, we have the final match that I'm going to be talking about in this video. KRÜ versus MIBR. This was not an unexpected win, to be honest, because KRÜ have looked really good, and last week I was quite impressed with them and happy that they got their first win, and now they have added another one. I did predict MIBR coming into this matchup, as I thought that they looked good at kickoff, and having the week off they might be able to prepare more, but it was a firepower diff, to say the least. KRÜ played extremely well. I liked their icebox and what they were doing on it. They were running Gecko, KO, and Reyna, and just the layering of the flashes that they had was really good, and I was just quite impressed with how they were playing. Kesnet overall would just have multiple Kesnet rounds where he just goes off and just clicks everybody in the head. He ended Icebox that way, and he dominated Sunset that way. I do want to shout out JZZ though for MIBR, as he was shooting quite impressively, and RDZine was insane as well, and FRZ had quite a few clutches that I was also like, ooh, damn, nice. But it was competitive in the first half, but by the second half, it was just all KRÜ. And that's kind of the story for both of the maps that happened. I do want to say I really like the addition of Heat now. He has proven to me after these first couple of matches that he does fit this team well. He's looking good on these initiators that he's playing in this flex role for them. And he fits this team well in the sense that Kesnet is a lurking duelist. He's one of the few lurking duelists. So having somebody that is a duelist but is playing another role be that main entry for the team to get onto sites a la Heat works out quite well for this team. And it's a similar concept as MTA was also a duelist main that took that role. So shout out to KRÜ. Really big. I'm super happy for them. That's 2 wins for them now. That's 2 more than last year. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is the end of my Spike Defused for now. I will make another Spike Defused for the rest of the matches that happened in week 2, so stay tuned for that. Don't expect them to be this long going into the future, as I would like to be able to do this a little bit more consistently. So we'll talk about less matches in the future and a little bit more in depth than just kind of a broad covering of them. But yeah, let me know down below in the comments what you think about this format. Do you enjoy it? Do you like it? Do you want me to do something different? Let me know. Feedback is very much welcomed, and I'm always open to criticism. So thank you so much again for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and until next time, stay hydrated. Peace.